So I've played the first three Stalker games, and I love the first two. I love the third one too. It was pretty good, but it was just kind of they the grenades were a problem, and like I don't know. It felt like everything was just trying to kill you more than the first two were, and that bleeding system was a little bit ridiculous because you would just bleed everywhere. Anyway, I love the Stalker games. I've had them for a very long time, and every so often I play the first one. I haven't gotten around to actually playing the second one in a long time. I don't even really remember the second one. I just remember the third one because it was the most recent one I played, and it was a disaster. And I'm thinking I'm probably gonna end up getting Stalker 2, but just in case, I have kept myself away from everything, and I'm gonna check the before you buy because I don't want to buy it and it be terrible, and I know it's gonna be terrible, but I don't want it to be a certain kind of terrible. It's got to be terrible in the way that the original ones were terrible, if you know what I mean.
And we're back with another episode of Before You Buy, that show where we give you some straight up gameplay and our first impressions of the latest games releasing. As usual, it's me, Jake Baldino.
Whatever that is, that's cool.
And today we're talking about S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2. We're finally talking about this, the follow-up to the classic PC Stalker games, after many years away and many difficult long years of development. I've been playing a review copy, and this footage is captured on PC and is spoiler-free. You're mostly seeing early game stuff because, to be honest, stumbling upon some things for the first time is half the fun, so I'm saving some of that for you. Plus, there is...
Why do the graphics look so weird? Like, that's not just me.
There's actually a lot of story, and there are some twists, so you won't see those here. To get into it, after such a long time from the originals, I was worried.
I think it was me. I had to switch to 1440p for this video for some reason. I guess my monitor refresh rate didn't want to go that low for this. Even the video's messed up, man.
That this new Stalker would lose sight of what made the originals so special. I mean, we've seen it happen before, right? A long beloved or classic movie or a video game, it comes back in full swing with a bigger budget and more eyeballs on it this time around, and it just feels different, like something is off. We've seen
the graphics on this look amazing, though.
It in a lot of things. Maybe it's streamlined, or the rough edges are sanded down, or it just doesn't feel spiritually the same. Well, thankfully, S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 is not one of those things. This game feels like a true follow-up to the sweaty PC classic, and
That's what I want to hear.
Doesn't forget where it came from. This is a gamer's game, one that challenges you and pushes you to really pay attention, observe, and push. It does not streamline things or really go for something ultra flashy and lacking substance. No, it seems like they didn't really compromise, and that's cool as hell. It's also messy, strange, and sometimes frustrating. Some of that, to be honest, is part of the charm. Players coming from the original game expected some of this. But unfortunately, this game takes that a bit further. S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 is coming in hot, with lots of visual and audio bugs and glitches, performance problems, and the other gameplay issues that made my playing pretty frustrating.
Well, the original ones did too. That's nothing new. I just hope they fix that, and hopefully they're not too bad. Hopefully it's good enough to play.
Little things like, flickering textures, glitching characters, to worse things like getting stuck in lean mode, crashes.
How bad is it compared to Bethesda launches? Is what I want to know. Because if it's better than Fallout 4 was, I think I'll take it. Or Skyrim. I'll take it. Skyrim was pretty bad when it launched. Like, it straight up wasn't working on some people's PlayStations and making it overheat and whatnot.
To immersion breaking things like NPC radio voices suddenly not having the radio static thing, so it just sounds like they're talking right next to you, and that changing from like sentence to sentence, just weird things. A lot of my play experience was rough, actually worse than you see here in this footage. I held off for a while and waited for a massive patch or update to the game that came closer to release, and played more with this. And there are noticeable improvements. So all you need to take from that is that this game is improving. Developers have been pretty upfront about frequent updates after launch and hot fixes all the time and stuff. So still, this is more of a review in progress from me. For most people, I recommend maybe you wait a little bit to jump into this one. This may be hard to hear.
So if it's a wait a little bit game, you're saying that I should get it.
If you were excited, I know, but in an age of endless games begging for your time and your money, some folks just don't have the patience for a game that is undercooked and messy. We've had this conversation.
There's a pretty good reason that it's undercooked and messy this time, though, because they were going through like a straight up war with Russia, and they lost some people. Took them a couple tries to actually get this released, and it's been so long. Like, these people are Ukrainian. They're in the Ukraine. They were making this game in the Ukraine.
Again and again. I think some folks will power through and do okay. You know, you don't have to listen to me, but I just wanted to give a word of warning. And still, despite the issues, I can still see Stalker 2 is a great game underneath. It's a massive survival horror-ish exploration sandbox.
Probably gonna kill you.
And the developers succeeded in like making the zone now a fully explorable and seamless open world. It's brutal, it's challenging, and immersive when it's really cooking. So in this game, you are a stalker, someone who ventures into a more fantasized version of the Chernobyl exclusion zone, seeking profit. It's this like lawless land, and factions and adventurers fight and scrap.
It definitely still looks like Stalker, but updated. It really does. It's got that feel to it.
Scrounge for rare scientific artifacts and resources. And in this one, you're a voiced protagonist who is technically a rookie stalker, venturing into the zone for seemingly simple personal reasons.
Yeah, I saw his face glitching there.
You're very quickly thrust into the thick of it in a pretty rough feeling.
Don't say thick of it.
Intro sequence, one that I think serves to separate the player base or test you. If you get through the intro without feeling frustrated or lost and you want to see more, then you probably are more likely to vibe with the rest of the game. The intro is where you're either going to like really bounce on or bounce off with some of the things they throw at you.
I don't even care about the intro. I'll trudge through it. I'll get through it. If the rest of it's good, I'll get through it, man.
But story-wise, I think they do a good job. Moment to moment, it might not be the most memorable for reasons I'll focus on later on in terms of getting distracted, but there are some cool characters, there are some surprises, and there is a decent, clear motivation. But really, it's all about the gameplay. Stalker is all about questing, exploration, looting, and survival. You know, make sure you eat some food to keep up your combat proficiency, use bandages to stop bleeding, drink vodka to get rid of radiation. Side note, does that actually work? Anyway, you're also managing loot and equipment in a tight, satisfying inventory system. Finding rare artifacts are really big too. Like if you discover them, you can equip.
Man, Bethesda ain't ever gonna get a good game out. They ain't gonna have a chance. Even if they have a good game, they gotta beat these games. Cause like, if the next Fallout game isn't better than this one, doesn't have a chance. They're done for. And I don't think we're getting another Fallout game for like at least a decade.
Equip them for super rare bonuses, but usually with some trade-offs. Equipment can degrade over time, so you need to keep them repaired or else you're screwed, especially with weapons because you don't want them to jam in the middle of a shootout. And of course, it's got a good layer of survival horrorness to it all because it often feels like you never quite have enough bullets or enough inventory space or whatever thing you need at that time, all while facing off against brutal enemies and scary monsters and weird stuff. Still, you can prepare yourself for a mission ahead. And that's why these games are so satisfying. Getting better loot feels like it makes a difference. Starting with a crappy pistol and a jacket just sucks. It feels much better once you get a solid weapon and some better armor. Like I mentioned, those artifacts and the weapon attachments work really well here. Getting something as simple as like an extended mag or a very, very small little scope or sight just feels so rewarding because it makes all the difference in this tough world. The game is still challenging. Your shots require pinpoint accuracy. You know, you're not super fast. This does not play like Call of Duty.
Thank you. Thank you. It's not going to be like Fallout 4. Fallout 4 was like Fallout of Duty.
And you can just get down very easily at any time. From the
Yeah, you just get pinged in the head, you're done for.
Weird bullet spongy irradiated creatures you face off against to the actual enemy stalkers out there. Shootouts with humans are oftentimes extremely awesome. Like the gunfire is loud and aggressive. The game gives you very little in the way of visual indicators. You really just need to observe. Sometimes an enemy can be hiding in a dark corner or kind of blending in with a bush, or maybe you just don't see someone. You can fire off a few rounds, run, dash for cover, fire off a few more, and just hope everyone's dead. But because you don't have like supervision or any indicators, everything you do is kind of a crapshoot and it feels realistic and fun. Firefights can feel fast-paced and aggressive, and also incredibly deliberate and challenging, and sometimes slower paced. AI is also a bit all over the place. Occasionally, enemies are dummies just lining up in a hallway. But more often than not, I have experienced pretty good stuff. I've been outflanked, I've been flushed out, I've been freaking headshotted, but all in ways that felt mostly clever and fair, and like I could have done something different. Also, the enemies are extremely grenade happy, which seems like it might need a little balancing. Like, it feels like they throw grenades a lot.
Hopefully it's not like, what was the third one called? Clear Skies? Hopefully it's not like that one. Because you'd walk into a place and your feet will be covered in grenades before you even know there was enemies.
Thanks to the game's commitment to realism, you don't really get a grenade indicator. You just need to hope you hear a character call it out, or like hope you hear it hit the ground, or maybe just get lucky and see this tiny little black dot fly over in your direction. Stalker is that type of game. The challenge and the brutality is part of the point, although it will frustrate some folks. It might feel unfair,
The Dark Souls of FPS games, if you will? No. Not gonna use that meme.
It's not for everyone, but it feels old school.
It's for me.
But the real payoff is adventuring in this world. This is what I loved. Where the game doesn't feel old school is in the world design. The zone is beautiful. It looks absolutely incredible when there's no issues, and like with everything cranked up pretty much, like weather effects.
Yeah, like the original one, you had like different areas that would load up when you go to them. It wasn't really open world.
Trees and leaves swaying in the breeze, irradiated puddles. Don't get me started about the storms. Also, like the detailed abandoned buildings, all hiding secrets. Like, this is a totally handcrafted open world, and it makes a difference. You feel it. This is what really saves the game for me. This adventuring. Hidden caves with monsters, bases with lookouts and raiders, and tons of little secrets tucked away, meaning you'll always get distracted. Characters are practically
I don't know about that water. I don't know about that water. That water looks kind of like 2010 water to me.
throwing side quests at you, and it's all usually
Mods will fix it.
in the quest for more good loot to just feel a little bit more powerful and a little bit more confident to venture out even more. If you like, Witcher 3 or a Bethesda game, just for that constant feeling of discovery and distraction, there is a lot of that here. But the danger is still present, too. I forgot to mention the anomalies. They are no joke. And some of the fun of the game is just observing your surroundings and trying to figure out how, like, a weird puddle or a mysterious floating pile of leaves is gonna kill you. And the world is pretty random, and events just emerge. Neutral guys or enemies will sometimes be patrolling or wandering around. Sometimes they'll clash with local creatures. Sometimes they won't. Sometimes you'll be walking and a guy in a ghillie suit just domes you. Sometimes you'll be walking in the woods and a guy in a ghillie suit that you didn't even see just domes you. And then you reload your save and then he's not there. The unpredictability of this world helps keep that constant exploration and
Oh man, yeah, I'm getting this. I'm getting this as soon as I get paid. Seems like my kind of game. Seems a little bit like Tarkov in a way where you just don't know what's gonna happen.
And distraction even more interesting, even if every so often it might feel a little bit unbalanced or borked. Again, there are some things that should be fine-tuned, and honestly should have been figured out before people bought the game with money. But at the very least, I'm glad so far my adventure has felt authentically Stalker-like. Getting through some frustrating issues, I've had a lot of fun. You're going to be able to dump hours and hours into this, with the main quest being like 40, but just like the size of the world and the amount of side quests, and just depending
Say the main quest is 40 hours?
on how you play, if you take it slow, there's a lot to do here. There's also some choices that the game presents you with throughout. I've encountered quite a few so far, and there are multiple endings. Really,
Yeah, I'll probably play this really slow the first time, and then I'll go for those multiple endings when I go back to replay it.
I'm just glad that the developers here stuck to their guns and made a game that isn't a big flashy AAA thing. It's a great foundation for the Stalker future as well. Feels like a great world for modders to jump in and make cool stuff, just as they did with the originals. And I can't wait to see what people do. Still, if you
Hopefully, we can get those Bethesda modders that are having a real bad time over there at Bethesda to jump on this game and make mods for this.
you are watching this video, like, there's a good chance you are an informed consumer, you know what's up. So I'd say make sure you do your research. Don't just watch our video, check out a few, read some reviews and stuff to really make sure you know what you're getting into, because unfortunately the game is undercooked. Still, that's just my experience. I've only been able to see the PC version, and I have seen a lot of fixes come in nice and quick, but this is just a before you buy. You know how this goes by now. I give you some pros, some cons, and some personal opinion, and now I want to hear yours in the comments. I'd love to know your history with the franchise. Maybe you're hardcore, maybe this is your first one and you're just jumping in blind. Good luck with that. But let's talk about anything Stalker 2 down in the comments. If you like our videos and
I wouldn't say that I'm hardcore, maybe just regular core.
seeing gameplay here, you know, helps inform your purchase or anything like that at all, clicking the like button does help us out. Thank you. I'm Jake Baldino. You can catch me on a lot of these before you buys, as well as the Friday news show, and on social media. Just look up my name. But thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.
This is who I go to for my before you buys for video games most of the time. Except for Dragon Age, the Veilguard. I feel like they kind of phoned that one in. Didn't want to get hate online. That one wasn't great. I didn't play it, but I saw some people play it, and it wasn't great. This one looks great. This one looks like it's going to be my game of the year. With a solid 7.3 out of 10. I'm going to just call it now. That's probably the rating I'm going to give it. That's what I gave the first one. This one's probably going to be on par. And I'm talking about the rating I gave the first one back when I first played it. And I loved it, man. I was addicted to it for like 3 weeks. I think I remember skipping school a couple of days to play it. Yep, I'm going to give this one a go. I'm going to spend my hard-earned dollars.